No. I can't hear anything. I still can't hear you.
I can hear you, Madeline.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Yes. Well, they just allowed me to unmute. Okay.
Oh, I heard you, Donna, but I don't hear the board.
Well, they have to let you unmute. Jim Grayson is still muted.
No, but I can't hear the board. Can you?
No, I can't.
Okay, well, that's what we need to hear.
Right. Hi, Madeline. Hi.
Hi,
Nice to see you.
nice to see you too. Well, we can just have a private conversation.
I know. Oh, God. Now I want to hear this meeting. I'm interested in this.
Also increase.
Here we
Madeline, can you hear us?
Now I can, yep.
Okay, sorry. All right. Great. Well, you know, new technology always has its hiccups, but I'm delighted you can hear us.
Absolutely. You know, I'm good. I'm good that I can hear you now.
Now, for everybody else who's using Zoom at home, if you have a question or a comment, hit your hand, raise your hand button, which should be on the bottom of your screen. And Michael will notice that and will unmute you so you can ask your question or comment. Periodically, we will take a pause and ask for questions or comments. So any of you who want to comment during those question and answer periods are welcome to do so. So we had just started the public hearing on the 2022 budget. And I was just commenting that we have a $37,500 proposed tax reduction, which is about 5%, of which the library is 17,500 because the town is not funding the library payment. That was something that was a referendum at the last election, and the residents of Ancram agreed to a $29,977 payment, which will show up on the county tax bill, like the fire district, the county, and the town.
So that's actually semantics then.
Sorry?
So that's actually semantics then.
17.5 is, yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna get charged that much more in your county, so it's not like we really gave them a reduction.
Well, we're giving them $20,000.
Yeah, I know.
It just moves it to a different line.
No, it's 37.5, of which 17.5 is the library, 20 is coming from the town. So there's a real $20,000 decrease in town tax.
But there isn't a 35 or 37,000.
No, that's perfectly clear.
Okay.
Well, will it, on the tax bill, will it say library?
Yes, it will. So that's where we are.
It
The
shows
other,
up on the county tax bill, right?
this is going to be on the January tax bill, which has the county, the town, the fire district. and the
Right, so it just breaks it out.
The other major change in the final budget from the preliminary budget is something that Madeline suggested, which is that we've considered raising salaries for all officials by at least the cost of living increase over the last year, which is about 6%. So we adjusted that. The average for the elected officials had previously been about 3%. We bumped it to a little bit over 6%. The total cost was about $5,000. It was not that significant. But because the proposed amounts in the final budget are higher than the amounts that we disclosed in the preliminary budget public hearing, we need to pass a local law to approve these proposed salaries. So we will have an opportunity to look at that local law later in the meeting, and I will introduce it to the board tonight. We will have a public hearing on it next month, and it is subject to a permissive referendum if the town board approves it.
What's a permissive referendum?
That means that people can petition for a referendum to vote for it or against it. So that's where,
I want to thank you at least for including it up until this point.
well,
I mean,
thank
I
you.
have nothing to gain by it, and so I felt that it was the right time to do it.
Yeah,
I sent around that spreadsheet, and I think it's in line with other towns with
I
their,
think so. I think
for
so.
sure.
So that's basically the overview of the budget. We're expecting to end next year with about $1.2 million, which is still a substantial amount of fund balance. And we are open for discussion. Anybody on Zoom have any questions or comments about the budget? Yes, sir.
On the library tax that we're agreed to pay, does that become a deductible on our personal tax bill?
I think it does, yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me take that back. There is a tax limit in New York State that the feds imposed of $10,000. So you can deduct up to $10,000 in taxes. So the library tax, when added to your other taxes, keeps you under 10. I think you're okay, but you better talk to your accountant about that.
No, it's a contribution, it's different than a tax.
Yes.
And so, I mean, is it construed to be a contribution? Because the library is a nonprofit.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. You'd have to check with your accountant on that. But typically, donations to governmental entities are tax deductible. For example, if somebody were to donate $5,000 to the town for the camp or the pool, they can deduct that. And you could deduct your property taxes up to $10,000. I'm not sure how the library tax would work.
The library is not, it's not a public library, it's a community library. And so the communities that are part of it by fiat are the ones who are taxed. So it's Ancram, Copake, and Hillsdale. And each of those entities will, via the tax, will contribute to the support, the general fund of the library, as I understand it.
But it's a tax, not a, you know,
Yeah.
not a contribution.
Right.
Not something-
It's not a contribution.
If it's not for profit, then it's a contribution, whether it's however you couch it.
Again, this is gonna be between you and your accountant.
The town
You
is
check with your
not for profit as
accountant.
well.
I will check with the county lawyer to find out what they think and let you know. That's a good question.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, any other questions or comments about the 2022 budget?
Couldn't have made that adjustment by a resolution, it had to be a local law.
Yes,
Okay.
that is the rule.
Follow the rules.
Okay, so anybody else have any questions or comments before we close the public hearing on the budget? We will cycle back during the regular meeting and I will propose that we adopt this budget so I can take it up to the county and get the thing going. So any other questions or comments? Anybody on Zoom have a question or comment before we move on? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Motion.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And now it's 7 o'clock. Time for a public hearing on local law number 3 of 2021 to establish a local type 1 list. This is something that Mr. Clark introduced to us last month. We will have a public hearing on it now. And then we will consider it for adoption during our regular meeting. Any questions or comments about proposed local law number 1? Number 3, I'm sorry. A type 1 list. Anybody have any questions or comments? We got a letter from the county planning board today. And they're fine. They had one comment, I think you probably noticed. They suggested that we double check with DEC.
Already done.
Okay, to see whether or not we're allowed to put restrictions on
Sent
mining.
through Ann, and sent through John
Good.
before.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about local law number 3, sorry, which is a type 1 list? Steve, could you just spend 2 minutes to describe what a type 1 list is?
Basically, the State Environmental Quality Review Act conveys the legislature's intention that all agencies that conduct their affairs should be doing so as good stewards of the air, the water, the land, the resources, and that they basically have an obligation to protect the environment. And a type 1 list, which is part of the state law, it helps to identify for various agencies, whether municipalities or others, actions or projects that are proposed to be undertaken that are more likely than not to require the preparation of an environmental impact statement there are two types really, or three of actions. Type 1, more likely to require, type 2, not likely to require, and then a third hybrid called unlisted, which may or may not, depending upon the circumstances. By listing many of the state entities or projects that would qualify for type 1 are very macro sorts of things. Extraordinarily large amounts of land, extraordinarily large amounts of water, things of that sort. But the law, as I indicated, allows municipalities and others to establish their own list that of things that probably ought to have a second look and be run through the environmental quality review process. This particular list was proposed several months ago by the Conservation Advisory Council. They proposed more than 80 items during a series of 9 meetings, as I recall. The Zoning Revisions Committee looked at each of those items, its impact, its probability of occurrence, things of that sort, and whittled that list down to about 40 things that, if they were to occur, ought to be run through the entire environmental review process. And that's what we're proposing here tonight.
Thank you. So town board, any questions about the proposed local law? Those of you on Zoom, anybody have any questions or comments about proposed local law number 3? Okay, anybody here in town hall have any questions or comments? Okay, so I guess we can take a motion to close the public hearing on local law number 3. Can I get a motion to that effect, please?
I'll move.
Thank you.
Second,
Second, all in favor?
yes.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Now, the town board meeting. It's now 7:05. Who is our parliamentarian? Do we have to wait 10 minutes to start the board meeting, or can we start it now?
I didn't know I was a parliamentarian, but I would opine that probably we ought to wait until a little closer to the 7:15 mark for those members of the public
Okay.
who want to adhere to the advertised time.
Fair enough. That's what we will do. We will basically take a 10-minute break and start the town board meeting at 7:15, as advertised. Yes. Michael, well done. Glad you got that going. How many people do we have on Zoom, Michael?
You just have 4, including
Oh,
Madeline.
okay.
Oh,
Come on,
that's
Caroline.
all. I had it already. That's my name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Soft it down.
Well, just as some aside comments that are really not related to the town board meeting. For everybody's information, Edmunds, the systems company, is coming to install the new server. I think on December 1st.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that'll get done. And George Littlinger has arranged to have the rugs here at Town Hall washed, cleaned on December, I think it's 3rd. So those things are gonna be happening in the next couple of weeks.
That's great. So the new servers, hopefully will go without a glitch.
Well, one of the things we're gonna have to do is empty out that back room.
Yeah.
Because that's a scary situation where you have all that junk.
He's nodding. It's a
Where
big pile of
you've
motors
got
and
junk there,
wires.
and I don't know how we get all that stuff out and where we put it.
Well, it'll be,
We may need to get a shed.
That'll be part of the
A little
project.
garden shed.
Yeah, someplace
So what's
for
back there? that needs to
for
be-
chairs and tables.
Oh.
primarily.
The only thing I would
boxes.
worry about with the chairs is mice,
Sorry?
mice. Because they're stuffed. These are stuffed.
They haven't
We
got one
always-
back there.
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have.
That's why we have mouse traps back there, but we can control them back there. Whereas we had a lot of trouble down at the ball field with mice, remember?
Yeah, that's it.
We could always get like one of those services.
We
that-
had that, didn't we?
What do you mean, then, like,
You probably lied.
So Bob, we're gonna, when we start the meeting, we'll go through the minutes very quickly and then go right to you.
you know, but we need-
All right, and talk about the RFPs.
Hmm?
All right, I'll come up there on the table.
It was
Not trash.
Or just
We
in-
had- we
You know,
had-
wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah,
There was a-
You can actually do it from there.
Want me to
We have
wait or do
a
this?
company called
Sorry?
Tech.
Want me to hand this to the board now or?
Yeah, come
Why don't you
on,
wait?
come on.
Okay.
Put the little things in.
this guy, this wasn't good. This was not,
I mean, that's really a problem.
yeah.
We I don't like you doing it, but yeah.
So.
We seem to manage it all right. Art's
I'm
got a
thinking
trap,
on Zoom.
so every office has a trap. And Art goes around once a week and checks traps.
Well, normally what happens is Monica screams at me and I
Right, you're the-
do it.
Terminator guy.
Yeah. But you know, we were spending $1,200 a month on,
$1,200 a year, it was $112.
yeah, $1,200 a year
I was just saying,
on a service.
we have a service that's a lot that's cheap and it's really good. We had a bad infestation and now we have none. We haven't had any. And they're really, I can find out how inexpensive they are.
No, a
They show up,
mousetrap-
I think,
mousetrap costs next to nothing.
so unless you want your mind to speak.
It's pretty common, especially when I come in and there's, one on my desk.
Yeah, can't
At least I only scream, Mary Faith would get up and leave.
Yeah.
But how much room are they gonna need back there?
They're not gonna be on a room, but the thing that makes me nervous is when people move the furniture in and out of there, they could basically bang into the server, bang into the electronics, and that would put us out of business for a while.
What makes me nervous is stuff is leaned up against the panels, solar.
Yeah. Solar panels are back there too.
Oh. Probably not good.
Art,
Yes,
who's working the machines tonight?
it's Michael Del Rossi. He's a member of our technology committee.
Okay, I know who he is.
Yep, we have 3 people on the technology committee who are checked out on this technology. You got Steve Aleja, you've got Philip Hack, and you've got Michael.
Good,
And
good.
Luckily, one of them
Oh,
is gonna be here for each of our meetings.
No, it's not.
This
Terrific.
technology is also being used now by the planning board. And I just saw some planning
is it
board
updated?
public hearing notices that went out announcing that they were doing in-person and Zoom meetings. So this is catching fire, and I think the plan is to get this thing set up a little bit more elegantly, so we're not using paper boxes to put the screen on and like that.
Oh, it's high tech.
Works.
As long as it works.
It works.
Yeah, you need a TV card.
Yeah. You need a little TV card that you can roll in and out, and we've got to do something with the wiring. So I don't trip over it like I'm likely to do. Well, you, 12 minutes.
It's too bad you can't do it wirelessly.
Well, that's a good thought. Maybe we can, I don't know. That would
Monday,
certainly
the committee.
clean it up.
Yeah.
The committee will work on that. All right, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we decide to start the meeting 2 minutes early? And I'd like to call the November meeting of the town board to order. Please join me for a salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for being here. First item is a recusal check. Is there anything on the agenda the new board member feels he or she must recuse from? Hearing nothing, I think we're good to go. First thing I'd like to do is go over the minutes for October and the amendments that Monica is proposing for August and September. First, October. Anybody have any questions or comments about October?
You had a couple of small edits. One place I had ZRC, it should be CBA. And I had the marijuana law listed as number 3 instead of number 2. So I've made those small changes in the minutes. If you guys want to see them, I can send them back around, but they were
Not necessary.
kind of
That's good.
typos.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the October minutes with the changes Monica has mentioned?
Motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second? Second, Bonnie. All in favor? Madeline, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, amendments to August and September. Monica, can you just describe
Sure, I
these
can.
amendments very briefly?
So as we're all aware, I was out those 2 months, once on vacation and the other time because my father was rushed to the hospital. When my deputy took the minutes, the resolutions by law have to be numbered, and it's a continuous numbering process throughout the year. So in January started 1, you all know this. She didn't number the resolutions for those 2 meetings. So when I went back in to get the number to do the October minutes, I realized she had numbered none of the resolutions. So in order to keep it concise and in the order that we need it to be, I'm asking that these 2 amendments, one for August and one for September, be made. Now, there's nothing changed about any of it. We're just putting a number onto each of them.
Yep, okay. Sounds good. Anybody have any questions about that? So could I get a motion to approve the amendment, the 2 amended sets of minutes for August? and
Motion made.
Thank you, Madeline. Is there a second? Second from Hugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion is carried. I'd like to now go to item 3, which is the air source heat pump update, and we have a guest, Bob Travis from CPL Engineering, who has effectively been the project manager for this effort, going back to the days when we were working on geothermal. And Bob has carried this project from the $300,000 level down to the $75,000 to $100,000 level.
Yeah.
So Bob, why don't you just give us a quick update on where we are with the RFPs and what the next 2 steps are going to be?
There's a lot of information in, I'm gonna hand out some information here.
By the way, there is a package here with
This is,
CPL's.
one page is
RFPs.
the energy savings. The second page is cost of construction, estimated cost of construction. And,
Careful with the wires.
yeah. The first page is cost savings, energy cost savings. And second page is construction cost. There's a lot of information that's been, a lot of technical information that's been going on for a year and a half now. When I kind of consolidated what's happening. A year ago, there was three outdoor heating units, packaged heating units for the town hall. And they're basically at the end of their reliable service life. One unit has been replaced within the last 6 months, I believe.
Last year.
Yep, and then there's 2 units that are left to be replaced. I've been working very closely with Susan Bland from the Climate Smart Committee because they've been trying to use air source heat pumps. So the heat is going to be all electric. There's a a cost savings for air source heat pumps versus using fossil fuels. And there's also a carbon footprint reduction, which is really that's the key goal of the climate smart committee. Now, we kind of, like Art said, we started with a geothermal system. Then we went into what you guys may be known as mini splits. We had an outdoor unit and indoor units. And I wish I could say I kind of, but I gotta give Art and the Stuyvesant supervisor credit. They found a similar unit they call a low temperature heat pump. It's a packaged unit, just like you guys have out here now. It does not use fossil fuels. It's all electric. And so basically the next 2 units, it is our intention on installing them. Now, in order to do that, there's 2 items of work. The mechanical side of the work, which is pretty straightforward. They're just taking out the old 2 units and putting in 2 new units. We put together an RFP. It's over the town's threshold. Our estimate is over the town's threshold, so it has to go to a public bid. So we put together a package to go to public bid, and we're ready as soon as we get the date. As soon as we coordinate the dates, and
Well, yeah, I think we want to give the climate smart people a chance to give us some feedback. They're meeting on Saturday.
okay,
So next week we should have their information and we can go from there.
excellent. And I'm available for any questions too. And I guess the trickier part of it is with the new heat pumps. They are all electric. The town's electrical service is too small. The existing service is too small for these heat pumps. And the main reason why is we want electric heat. Just in case you lose a compressor in the middle of the winter, you want, hopefully you'll never use it because it's expensive. Direct electric heat is expensive. But to make a short story long, you have a 400 amp service, it has to be increased to 600 amps. And 600 amp 240 single phase service. Now, I don't have my numbers in front of me, I don't want to misquote it, but I think it's 40, our estimate for the electrical service.
Yeah,
is about
42.
42.
Yep.
Now, we've assembled an RFP for that, that's going to go to public bid as well. We've assembled an RFP for that. And just in a nutshell, what we want to do is there's going to be a transformer put in the back of the building. We're going to use there's conduits that go from the pole out front, and we're going to pull in a new primary line, high voltage line, through one of the conduits, and basically give you a new lineup on the back of the building. And that's 42. I think our HVAC is 32. So.
And the threshold for public bid is $35,000. And we tried the logic with a couple of attorneys that says, well, if we break it up into pieces and each piece is under 35, are we good to go with estimates? And they said, not so fast. They said, you're much better off to package it up. It's a $75,000 project. Don't fool around. The bidding process is not going to do anything but benefit the town. Go for it in the conventional way. And we said, yeah, that makes sense. So we're doing this according to Hoyle. And that's why we have these bid packages. I don't know if the town board has had a chance to look at them yet, but they're extensive and well-crafted. And I think having a firm of CPL's credibility doing this is going to make everybody who bids careful with what they're proposing. So this is going to be a good process. I think we'll probably get this thing organized and ready to go to advertising, Monica, in the next week or two. And we'll put out an ad saying, if you want to bid, contact the town clerk and we'll send you the materials. And then if you want to come for a visit, Bob, I think we need to make you the point person for visits, because people coming for a site visit are going to probably want questions answered.
Yeah,
And you're going to be the best person to do that.
that's fine. And if there's a set time that the town hall is open, I'll just make arrangements to be here then.
Well, we can set that up at your convenience and the convenience of the bidders.
Okay.
And if necessary, we can give you a key so you can get in when you need to.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll be available,
Yeah.
but this is a process we're very familiar with.
So I guess if the town board has any comments or suggested edits on these RFPs, get them to me like in the next week if you could, because I think we'll be able to get Susan and the CP and the climate smart comments by then. We can put these to bed, hopefully before the end of the month, and then I guess we're talking about a 3-week turnaround for the bid.
Well, normally, your town board meets monthly, so I'd give it by a 3-week turnaround for the bid. And maybe a week or two to select a contractor. And it usually takes about a month to get contracts signed, only because, you know, you meet once a month. So I could see them getting a notice to proceed perhaps beginning of January.
Okay.
And there's a lengthy lead time on the air conditioning unit. It's I think it's 5 months right now. So,
Yeah, and who knows what the reality is going to be because of the supply chain thing.
yeah.
Same thing with the generator.
Yeah, I didn't mention basically the electrical upgrade includes a new generator, which the generator that's there now doesn't have the capacity to drive the new equipment on a design bid, so.
Yep.
What are we gonna do with the old generator?
Don't know, but it's going to be worth something. We'll have to figure out what to do with it. We don't want it to go to scrap.
And the generator at the pool.
We were off the paper.
Hmm?
We run off the paper.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we'll figure
They
out
got us
something.
covered.
oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. Just thinking of another use for it.
Yeah, no.
Or
We can put it on.
Find another use for it.
Compliment Susan's plan on this whole process. I've been working with Susan now for
She's done it.
over a year.
Yeah.
Since we were talking about geothermal, and she has kept the town's intentions and the climate smarts committee's intentions very clear, and also understanding the economics of the situation, and she's learned a lot about the technical side. It's been a pleasure working with her.
Yep.
She's
It's good.
her town.
But you know what I would,
Thanks, Susan.
Oh,
She's not
what I would like to ask, oh, there's Susan. Susan, do you have any comments you'd like to make about this whole process?
Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute. So thank you all for those kind comments. And yeah, just to add that I think this was circulated already, but we submitted the plan, we submitted the numbers for what it would cost. I think the submission did not have CPL's fees, but it had everything else, and NYSERDA approved it. So just want to let everybody know that. And we will, I did circulate the RFPs. Thank you for that, Bob, to our committee. I have not gotten any comment, but I'll make sure to raise it on Saturday and let people know they've got a couple days to get me anything by the middle of next week. I think that'll work with your timing to publish in 2 weeks.
Good, excellent, thank you. Okay, you know what I would like to propose to the town board is that we approve these RFPs subject to comments from the Climate Smart Committee, the Climate Smart Community Task Force, so that we don't have to wait another month to get them out there. If everybody's comfortable with that, resolution number 2 is resolved, the board approves the proposed RFPs for the installation of 2 Bosch air source heat pumps at the Ancram Town Hall and the necessary electrical upgrades to support these air source heat pumps, subject to review and approval of the RFPs by the Climate Smart Community Task Force. So there will be some minor edits that we will make, but I think the RFPs are, as they stand now, very strong. So if the town board is willing to accept what we have now and the idea that we will make some modifications, I would appreciate a motion to approve resolution number 2.
I will move that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is there a second?
Second,
Second, David and Madeline. Any further questions or comments about this? Bob, any last thoughts?
No, any questions, you can contact me at Carl.
Okay, Susan, any last thoughts from you?
She's muted again. I'll just say it's a long thought process, and I think it's a great solution in the end.
Susan, any comments before we vote on this?
Oh,
Okay, so have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Anybody opposed? Okay, resolution is carried. Thank you very much. Bob, thank you.
All right, thank you.
And we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Next item. Lynn, why don't we do historic banners
Okay,
so that
may I
you-
come up front so whoever's in there can see?
Sure.
they
Or
can
do you want me
see,
to be
they
here?
can see you.
They can see me, okay,
Stand
never
up.
mind.
Stand up
There you are.
and you're visible because this little thing that's right in front of us
Uh-huh,
is called an owl.
okay,
And
now
it-
you're scaring me.
Why don't you come around here?
No,
and
you
take a
can-
look
you
at the
can share.
screen.
Oh,
Okay.
no worries.
Just come around here and look at the screen so you can see that you're gonna be seeing.
Seeing is believing.
Yes, see?
That is scary. I should have my hair done, Mike. Anyway, thank you for your time.
The owl is
I'll
watching.
just be over here then. And, I grabbed something for a little handout. So let me do that first. Trying not to trip. Wow, this is a world of wires up here. Okay, I'll make this brief. The reason I came tonight is I wanted to give all of you an update about the historic banners. May I just scoop into your personal space here for a second? So this is one of the banners, an actual. The last time I was here, I showed you a prototype, but this is one of the real banners. And you'll see that it's
Wow.
printed on both sides. There's a different image on both sides. And so this is one of the ones that would go up on the utility poles in town. So, let me keep going.
Now, is that something you could leave here and we can put up at town hall?
Absolutely. It's just in my studio, so you're
So
welcome to
why
have
don't we
it.
figure out, a place where we can hang it
Yeah,
in this room somewhere so people can, or maybe out in the hallway?
and yeah, actually, if we could jigger it just, so that you could walk around and see both sides.
Okay,
But
kinda cool.
anyway, just to remind you, the basic program consists of 50 of these outdoor double-sided banners, and they'll be installed on utility poles all throughout the 3 hamlets. So again, to go over old territory, the approval came from the town board in June to do the project. As of today, the artwork has been finalized and digitalized, and it's ready for production. I'm proposing that we do an installation in early spring. The approvals from the electric company just took an awful long time. And so with that in mind, I just think it would be a more auspicious, happy, time in the spring to do it. So we want to create a brief video that can be on the town website with the purpose of identifying the elements that are in each of the banners. So basically captions. I think there was a suggestion by several people, and I think it's a good one, that we identify what these either landmarks or people or locations are. But to do it on the banners themselves, the information would be too small, and I think it would be too distracting. So that kind of gives us an excuse
to make a very nice little video that can be on the website. And so that brings me to my request why I'm here. I would like to, in the video, to include some current day photographs so that we're basically bringing it from then to now and going back and forth. So, and so I've worked on a preliminary basis with the doctor here in town. And we sort of have a lot of ideas about how to do this. However, in order to have the banners appear in this current day photographs actually, we'd like to do about a half a dozen or so of them. I would like your okay to order 6 of the banners right now. So with that in mind, ordering just 6 of them would be, have a unit price of $102 each. However, if you want to give me your approval to order the entire program right now, the unit price for all of the banners would only be $75 a piece. And then we could put them, aside, and then, spring will be here any minute anyway, and then we can put them all up. So basically tonight, what I'm asking is a request to either give me an okay to order 6 of them now, or let's do the whole thing and order all of them now.
Okay,
So that's what I'm here to request.
There's 50 of them.
There's 50 of them eventually, yeah, all told. And of course, they're printed on both sides, so it's really almost like having a program that includes, 100. So it's really kind of a neat thing.
okay, anybody have any questions about this for Lynn?
What's the total for the 50?
No problem. I should have said that. It's about $37.50, about a little less than $4,000.
But if you bought a piecemeal, that's saving $1,000.
Yeah.
There's no doubt it would be good to do the whole thing now, but
Yep.
that is up to you folks.
So, anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion with my vote.
Excellent, thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by 3 people, all in favor?
aye.
Yeah.
Motion approved. Lynn, go for it. Thank you very
Well,
much.
you're being awfully hard to get along with, but that's okay. Thank you. And I love your idea about having this here. So if you don't mind, I'll take it home with me just for tonight.
Yep, we just
And we'll
figure out,
discuss how we can effectively have it here.
yes,
at
we'll
town
hang it
hall.
here somewhere.
Okay,
You
great.
know, like,
They're really great.
Thank you for your time.
beautiful. Yes,
Freddie has-
Could we get images of these on the website so we can download them ourselves? Or
it's a great idea. Lynn, can you do that? Send me some
Yeah,
stuff to post?
in working with Bee, do you know Bee Doctor? I figured everybody knows Bee. She really just seems to have all the keys to the kingdom in terms of how we can maximize this for the town, not only as a nice cohesive video, but the use that you're talking about. And also just as a sidebar, when we get all these wonderful new photographs, we're gonna redo the exhibit out in the vestibule so that we have some beautiful big prints of those. So it's really gonna serve a couple different purposes of renewing all kinds of things.
Well, if you can email me stuff to send around to the email list.
Yeah.
Whenever you can, I'll circulate it and we'll get everybody excited about this.
Sure, yeah,
Okay, thank you very much.
yeah, thank you.
You're so terrific. She really is. Everything is it's so creative. I'm very pleased.
Madeline, who do I make the check out to? I'm sorry,
So
Ron.
they're, on the banners are gonna have photographs and then images of people, but they're not gonna say who they are.
That's right. Every banner, the elements that they will all have is, of course, Ancram and then historic farming community.
Right.
But what, for example, if, who is this wonderful guy, Pat Hoyser, who's a local farmer? So what we're using the video for, this is the Ancramdale Railroad Station of yours, not around anymore. So what we wanted to have a venue for describing and detailing. So I'm working with the town historians to make sure all this information is correct. It would have been too lengthy, and I believe it's
Yeah, I
just too
agree.
distracting to have on the banners.
But you know, in other towns that it, and they have names and stuff, but you don't have time to read them.
Right.
Passing by.
Fine place says
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
I think we have to acknowledge that, you know, these are gonna be up elevated. I don't think it would be effective. And I think it would
Yeah,
just
I
make our
agree.
program look like we have not really thought it through.
And, you know, Lynn,
But it also gives us this chance to do something else that is cool.
That'd be great.
I think we could also put on the website a scorecard where there are 50 images and people can print out the 5 pages and check off each image as they see it, and the image will have the name on the printout.
I think
Comcast.
it's, a build
Comcast.
it,
Yeah.
build it and they will come situation.
Mhm.
It seems like every project I do becomes a
A major
build it
project.
and they will come kind of thing.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of possibilities.
Yep, I
But
agree.
I do think that history of the town is just something that unites.
Well, everybody's
Everybody.
gonna wanna know who that is.
Yeah,
And so we gotta have some mechanism where they can answer that question for themselves.
yeah. Plus it'll
Otherwise, they'll
be
be
here.
emailing you.
So really, we're gonna have 3 tiers of information. The banners themselves, the exhibit in town hall that will affirm who these people are and these locations, and then the website.
Yeah, that's great.
And who knows what else.
Okay.
And
sounds
when we
good.
put everything up, we gotta have a party, right?
Good.
But anyway, I'll come back and talk about that some other time.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Are there
Yeah, Carol.
different images?
No, there's 18 different images, but when you rotate them all around,
Right, okay.
the fronts and backs, it'll, I mean, we could do 50, but
18,
but
I'm
it
sure was
wouldn't
a
cost
job.
$4,000.
Yeah.
It, you know, that would make the price really go up, but,
Okay,
good question.
good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Great job.
I'd like to go back to item 2 on the agenda, which is to reappoint Colleen Lutz to a 2-year term on the County Environmental Management Council, starting January 1st. She's been our representative there, I think, for the last 4 years, and these are 2-year terms. So I would appreciate a motion to reappoint Colleen to the Environmental Management Council.
Make the motion.
Thank you, David. Second, thank you very much. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, that's done. Technology Committee. Steve Oleha, who we appointed as chair last month, resigned because he met Philip Hack and thought Philip would be a much better chair of that committee. So I would like a motion to appoint Philip Hack as chair of the Technology Committee. Thank you, Bonnie. Is there a second?
Second,
Madeline and David, thank you very much. All in favor?
aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Town pool. David, anything new on the town pool?
We have, drained it, we've painted some areas, we've done some work with them, and everything. You know, short of opening it up for the summer, we didn't do that. We talked with the guy, about the, handicap accessible chair, and he felt that it would be better to wait until the spring to install it, than do it. He didn't receive it until October,
Yeah,
and he didn't think, why put it out in the weather for one more year?
makes sense.
He says you can wait until March or April and put it up. He says it doesn't sit through the ice and the snow. He said, why do that?
Good.
She has been working with, Reed. They're talking about bathrooms and anything they have to do with those, and they're working on that right now.
Good. Any
So-
early ideas on lifeguards? Is that gonna be another problem this year? Do we have any sense of that?
It's a crapshoot. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I know the County Kills Pool was not open this summer because they couldn't get lifeguards.
Yeah.
And when they have a hostage situation, you know, with those kids, so,
Yeah.
and they can't get lifeguards, I don't know, we'll see.
Should we start recruiting early?
We're already talking to people, we're pushing, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to get young
Yeah.
people to commit to something
Right,
that's
especially this time of year.
6 to 8 months away.
Yeah, okay. Just on any questions for David on the pool? Where we are? The kids camp, we've had a resignation of one of the co-chairs. Ellen Langdon let me know that she couldn't continue to be co-chair. Jane Plasman is the other co-chair who says she's willing to continue, but she would like to have a co-chair appointed. So I will be putting
Hey,
out.
I'll volunteer for that.
Sorry?
I'll volunteer for that.
Fantastic. You got the job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Jane and Madeline as co-chairs of the camp pool board, which is good. I'm also going to reach out to the folks who were our camp directors over the last couple of years to see if any of the 3 of them might still be interested. And hopefully we'll have 1 or 2 of them who would like to continue to do that. The backup position, if they're not, we can't find anybody. We had a pretty successful year this last summer, getting our kids into camps in Pine Plains, Copac, and Hillsdale. That seemed to work out pretty well for the kids who wanted to go to camp. But I think all of us would rather have our own camp if we can support it and if we can find the staff and the leadership. So that will be something that we are going to start working on now. Item number 8, Sharon Hospital. As you all know, I got a note from a resident suggesting that we communicate using Ancram email about all the issues going on with Sharon Hospital. I suggested to him that it was probably inappropriate for the town to take both sides and kind of communicate that because it was not really a town issue. But I think I wanted to bring it to the town board to see how the town board wanted us to handle it. There are newspaper articles, there are letters coming out from the New Vance and Sharon board. There are activities from the folks who have a Save Sharon Hospital program going on. I put in your package a Save Sharon Hospital letter. Question is, do we want to use Ancram email to communicate about this? If we do, we will support or communicate both sides of the issue. The Ancram resident asked that we consider a resolution supporting the Save Sharon Hospital point of view, as opposed to supporting the 2 sides equally. So my question to the town board is, what would you like us to do? As of this point, I have not shared any information with the Ancram email list about this. And I've told the resident who's interested in us doing that, there's plenty of this information out there in the news for those folks who are interested. I didn't sense that getting Ancram email in the middle of this was something that was going to be terribly helpful to anybody. So,
You have literature on that?
well, here's the letter that the Save Sharon Hospital people distribute. But if you're interested in this, if you're interested in this, I suggest you go on the internet.
No,
Yes, it is. It is in packet number 2, which is the one that had the RFPs. For the back. Here it is.
we got that one.
The only thing that I think about it are, I don't think we need to really per se send out the Save the Sharon Hospital, but I don't think it's a problem that we send out information that this is just technical information that this is going on. As I stated in my email, we all get emails about every lost dog and cat in the world. I think a hospital closing in our area is important to us.
Yeah.
One of the things I can tell you right now, I know they're planning to close the maternity ward
Right,
in Sharon Hospital, and both my kids were born there.
right.
I think that's something our community needs to hear and needs to know about. I don't think that's an undue, issue for us to have on our email. I mean, if I have to know that somebody lost I mean, I get lost dogs in Copac on our email, but I don't, you're not gonna send out that, I think that's kind of, I don't see a problem with us sending that type of information out. I don't think we should take sides, but we should at least get the information out there.
Well, the information, I guess, that we could circulate that doesn't take sides would be the newspaper articles, which tend to be fairly balanced. The hospital says this, and Save Sharon Hospital says that.
That's fine. As I said, I just think we need to get something out there.
Yeah, okay. Other thoughts, you?
Well, that, I was about to ask David, what I think you just clarified, exactly what would we be putting out? Would we be retransmitting newspaper articles? Or would we be fabricating our own summaries and issuing those, which I don't think would be a particularly good idea.
I don't either. I think we should just be sending out newspaper articles. We see newspaper articles on a bunch of other things
Yeah, for sure.
all the time, so.
Well, one of the things that has been requested of the board is that we consider adopting a resolution supporting Save Sharon Hospital. My sense is we don't want to do that. But we do want to communicate the issues as reported by a independent press.
I
Is
agree.
that a fair summary?
Yes.
Everybody okay with that?
I agree with that. Well, that information is good to circulate. I mean, how do we choose what to send though? I mean, it should be balanced. Both sides of the
Well,
issue, and I think it could have a really big impact on the community, so it's worth letting the community know. They don't already know, but.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really kind of tricky because I can see both sides of the issue. I mean, if they're losing money and then it's a business decision, but on the other hand, it's gonna have a big ripple effect, so. I think we just have to make sure it's balanced.
Yep.
So that,
Doing is just a sign of the times.
pardon?
Far less fewer children being born in the area.
Yeah,
Yep.
You're right.
well, I mean, what I've read is there's only 200 kids a year born there, so they
Yeah.
just staff that thing for
Just not
a whole year. I don't know.
economically feasible to keep it fully staffed.
It's just like all the urgent cares have closed around and all the different things going on.
Yeah,
Staffing is hard right now. They understand that, but people need to be made aware that it's happening.
Okay, I think I have a direction here. Thank you. Any comments from anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Yeah.
I just, I think we should take a stand, and that's my personal thing. Everybody has a different one. I happen to have been born at Sharon Hospital, and I think to see them not have that ability for the people, how do we expect young people to move to our community if we don't have a place where they can have their kids? So I think personally, I think the board should make a statement on this.
I agree with that too. I think information is power. That doesn't mean you can't have a reverse, an alternate, should I say, comment about it, but to have a hospital that's, of all things, shutting down a maternity ward, I find that to be almost obscene, in my view.
Closing Hudson for years.
Yeah.
I think a lot of hospitals are closing them, but whether it's good or bad, it's happening. I think New Vance has 2 or 3 hospitals.
Yeah. Well, they got- Yeah.
Northern Dutchess, I don't know if they have maternity or not, but there's
They probably have-
funneling people to.
Yeah, they're calling them down there. You said that the Memorial in
That's
Hudson is
been
not.
closed for quite a few
Yeah, that's
years.
right.
Yeah.
They don't have maternity.
What about Great Barrington? Do they have anything there?
I don't know.
They do.
They do. Yeah.
Rhinebeck? I don't know.
Rhinebeck does,
No.
but I think the other thing is,
That's
like,
New Vance as well.
right,
Yeah.
that we need to remember too, like I emailed all of you, these doctors aren't just the baby doctors, they're also the female health doctors.
Mhm.
And but they're somebody who's expecting a baby sometimes is going to the doctors 3 and 4 times a month towards the end.
Mhm.
Whereas a woman may only use their services on a normal basis once a year. These doctors are not going to be able to stay here if there's not that maternity end of it. And unfortunately, women's health is gonna suffer. We're gonna have to go to bigger areas.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you all for your comments. Item number 9 is introducing a local law authorizing salary increases for elected officials. It should be in the back of your first package, the last item in the first package. And basically, everybody see it? Got it?
No.
If you reorganize the package, it might not be there. Here, let me pass this around. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Tony, you got it?
On the last page.
Yeah. Okay, so this local law, I found it on the internet. And I passed it by an attorney who said it looked fine. So what this says basically is because county law and municipal home rule law requires that salary increases of fixed term officers in excess of the amount indicated in the public notice of the preliminary budget public hearing shall be established by local law, subject to permissive referendum. That's legal talk for if we want to give ourselves the 5.9% increase instead of the 3% increase that we had in the preliminary budget, we have to approve this local law and it has to pass the test of not being challenged successfully in a permissive referendum. The salaries designated for the town officers involved are for the town supervisor, $5,250, for a town board member, $3,050, for the highway superintendent, $64,100, and for the town clerk, $33,950. Those are the positions that are affected by this local law. And it says this law shall take effect 45 days after its passage and is subject to permissive referendum. So, anybody have any questions about this?
I think Bonnie circulated something that puts a certain perspective on it, so I will yield back over to you.
Well, yeah, there was a spreadsheet put together by Supervisor Kopay, and it just gave an overview of salaries in each town. I think we were the lowest in some.
So these are on the low end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still on the low.
They're still on the low
With
end.
the raises, yeah,
They're quite a bit.
yeah. So I think it's more than appropriate that we bump them up a little bit.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So basically, the proposal here is simply that we schedule a public hearing authorizing increases in elected officials' salaries. So I would appreciate a motion to approve resolution number 3 of the resolutions, which sets the public hearing for next month on December 16th at 7 p.m.
I like that motion.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David.
Art, did we do this the last time we raised the salaries?
No, we didn't, because the last 9 or 10 times we've done this, Madeline, the salaries that we disclosed in the preliminary budget public notice were the salaries that we went with.
Uh-huh,
in
okay,
the final
got
budget. So as long as we make the decision early before the preliminary budget hearing, we're okay.
okay, got it.
Okay, good question. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? If not, why don't we do a roll call vote on this?
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Supervisor Masson,
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel,
Yes,
Okay. The resolution is passed. Thank you very much. My reports, financial reports for the month of October, basically another normal month. Year-end cash projection indicates we're going to end the year at about $1,450,000, which is pretty similar to where we were last time. I just want to mention something about the FAC meeting that I think is of interest. The FAC spent a good piece of time talking about strategic investments in the community. That conversation was triggered by the $1,450,000 of fund balance we have now and the likely continuation of that over time. The thought was we ought to spend a year thinking fairly seriously about how to spend serious money to make serious improvements in the community. Will Weiss recommended that we do this and volunteered to chair the committee, and he's been in the process of trying to recruit members. The concept is for a year-long study of this process, of this opportunity, coming up this time next year with some concrete proposals. Nothing the town board needs to do at this point. I think all of you got a note from Will today about this, and all we need to do is be aware this is going on in the background. Bonnie, I think we should be talking with you and Paul about housing.
Yeah, we've already spoken.
And he'll be talking to Susan about environmental investments. And there are a variety of other things that the committee is going to look at.
I'll only say that I don't know when it'll take a whole year to do it. I mean,
I don't know.
there's gonna be lots of ideas and lots of ways. We're gonna have another rescue check coming in too in the summer.
Yes, we'll have another $75,000 next summer.
So I think just something that's gonna be apart from our capital plan,
This is going to be, I think,
separate.
it should be separate. It should be basically something that is not constrained by how much money we have now, but more, in my mind, something that identifies investments we should be making. And if it's more money than we could ever imagine, let's go find the grants, let's go find the loans, let's figure out how to do it.
So a wish list, if you will, things that we might want to accomplish.
Yeah, and it could be a list of 10 things, it could be a list of 2 things. I mean, I think Will's concept is let's really give this the time and energy that it is due, and not try to rush into making decisions that we're going to be not as certain about. Get plenty of community involvement. Get a lot of people thinking about this, maybe have a couple of public hearings. So I think he's going to run a very thoughtful process. So just wanted you all to be aware of that. Hugh, you want to add anything to that? You were at that meeting.
You accurately summarized it. Will did his note this afternoon. I would simply throw in a consideration of Bonnie's point about the whole year. Since we start the budget process next year in late August, early September, I would simply consider that perhaps we ought to set a target of the 1st of September or whatever coincides with the initial draft of the budget. That might be a helpful
I think
time.
his intent is to be done by the time the budget process starts.
I think so too. But
So, yeah, my characterization of a year is probably 3 months too long.
Yeah, so this will be forming a new committee. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, he's organizing this committee. Okay. Final 2022 budget. We have a resolution. Resolved, the Ancram Town Board adopts 2022 town budget. With a tax levy of $14,420 and a reduction of $37,136 from the 2021 town tax levy, and a lighting district tax levy of $4,500, a reduction of $500 from for the 2021 lighting district tax levy. Any last questions or comments about the budget before we consider it for approval? Can I get a motion to approve this resolution, please? Thank you, Bonnie. Is there a second?
There is.
Thank you, Hugh. Any other questions or comments? Okay, why don't we do a roll call vote on this? Monica?
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes,
Supervisor Basson.
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Isabel.
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to refer you now to the 2022 capital plan, which is in your package behind the budget. This basically, you've seen this before, it outlines how we plan to spend money over the next 4 or 5 years. The major change from the last time you saw this list is I put in here the possibility that we repay the plow truck loan early. And we paid the $200,000 left on that next year.
Did the fact consider that?
Sorry?
Did the fact consider that in the meeting?
Yes, we talked about it, and my sense is the fact would like not to pay it off until we figure out what we want to do with our money. So while this is in the plan, it doesn't have to be implemented. This capital plan gives us plenty of flexibility. This simply describes how we may use our money, but it doesn't commit us to doing it. Until we put this money in the budget, it's simply a plan.
Right.
is this loan, is it, there's set times for payments, repayment, or what do we have?
Yes, it's like in this, it's like September.
So we should have already made a payment on.
We made a payment this year.
Because it would seem that, quite honestly, looking at what our interest rate is on the loan and what they say is gonna happen to interest rates, we'd be better off keeping our money and just paying that off as it comes due every time. It would seem to me.
Yeah, I guess this is a fixed rate loan, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
it
you're
is.
right. So if interest rates go
So
up.
if interest rates are gonna go up, we'd be better off holding on to our money to do other stuff with
Yeah, all right,
and pay this as it comes,
all right.
than pay it up front.
Yep. Well, that's pretty much what the fact concluded to, I think. So I just want to bring this to your attention. This is again, not a decision that we're making. This is simply
So
running the numbers.
speaking of the fact committee.
Yep.
Now I see the agenda and I see what you're gonna discuss. Is there a way somebody can send around notes, minutes that what you guys, because I have no idea what you talk about or decide or debate. I mean, just, you know. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's valuable,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, I
it's
can-
sort of this black hole that they make all these, I mean, not decisions, but discuss things at length, I assume.
yes.
And I have no idea what they think or decide.
Okay, let me write notes.
Yeah,
You know,
that would be
I'll write
helpful.
notes for the town board meeting and
I'm
I
sure
can write
there
notes for
are
fact.
valuable discussions and there's different opinions and. You know,
Maybe
once in
I'll-
a while you bring it up or say what they decided, but it's, we don't know.
Yeah.
As a board.
You know what we could do too? We could put FAC on Zoom if you wanted to participate that way, but I think it'd be easier if you read the notes.
Yeah, because I can usually do Saturday
Yeah,
morning.
okay. Very good, I can do that. So anyway, other than repaying the plow truck loan, the rest of the stuff is pretty basic.
Things in 2021 are already done,
Yeah, pretty much.
the broadband to TV
Yep.
system. Are we still getting a screen? I mean,
We need a big screen. I think that's part of the plan.
yeah,
I think we have to talk about what the value of that's gonna be and how we're gonna use it,
right.
because it's not gonna help us. And we're gonna be looking at this screen.
Mhm.
But I think that is if anybody has a presentation to
Like
give.
planning board.
So we can go up there so everybody can see that, and by virtue of that, everybody can see from there up on that too.
That's true.
Yep, you're gonna have two screens working at once, but that's what it's gonna work as.
Well, I think
That makes
we'll put the
sense.
screen up, it doesn't cost that much money, and we'll see if it gets any use and the value will appear. So we can do that, they're planning to do that. That's what Steve and Philip are working on.
So that hasn't been purchased yet.
Mhm.
The bucket truck is coming when?
I contacted the company a couple weeks ago and they tell me it's all supposed to be delivered in March to their shop, still has to be assembled. So I think they originally told us April, May, and it looks like it could happen then.
Anything new?
Subject to, supply chain issues.
We haven't paid for that yet.
No, I was talking with Jack the other day, and you can't even go to a dealership in order. And it's crazy, but that's just. We are at the mercy of the supply chain issue at this point.
Dealer lots are still open.
They're empty, they don't even have any idea when it's gonna get better.
Yeah, okay. So that's the capital plan. Health insurance, there's a resolution here that basically outlines our health insurance program. It's basically the same program next year as this year. We basically offer a bronze high deductible HMO or EPO, depending on where your doctors are. We basically cover 100% of the family premium, and we provide $750 into a health savings account for each employee family. And then we basically cover all out-of-pocket expenses over $1,500 until the insurance kicks in and we don't have to pay anything and the employee doesn't have to pay anything. So effectively, the employee's cost of medical is $750. This seems to have worked pretty well. And interestingly enough, we have had a fairly healthy group over the years. And the savings that we make by going with a high deductible program at the $475 level instead of a lower deductible program at the $700 level, that savings is enormous. And each year, we have ended up spending less money than we budgeted. So I would appreciate a motion to approve this program as outlined.
Great motion.
Thank you, David.
They're okay with it, the way things are working too?
Yeah.
Everybody likes it.
Yep.
I'll second.
Thank you, Hugh. Any other questions or comments about health insurance? Okay, good. Let's do a roll call vote on this one.
Councilman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd,
Yes.
Supervisor Bass.
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel.
Yes, yes.
Thank you all very much. The resolution has been adopted. Just a quick update on the planning board alternate. We had originally 8 or 9 people submit expressions of interest. I've gotten so far 3 or 4 resumes. I've circulated a note to everybody saying, hey, if you're interested, get me a resume. John Ancram plans to hold interviews on Saturday, December 4th. He's going to have Joe Crocco join him, and Hugh has volunteered to join them, so that will be the interview committee. They're going to then recommend to the town board who we should appoint, and we'll probably hear about that at our December meeting. So hopefully we'll find somebody who is capable and interested and able to do this work. Town board members, Bonnie, Economic Development and Housing.
So Paul and I have been working on collating the numbers on the survey, and we have done that. We had 220 responses online and 60 responses paper. And it was do you have the open rate? I forgot to write that down. The people online.
The open rate was about, the first one Art sent was good. It was like over 30% open rate. That was
it was a 30-something% open rate with a very high click rate too, which means we have the ability to know when people actually open. the
Actually
meeting
click
set.
that and fill it.
And we don't know if we know if they click into it. So clicking into it means that they took it. So
Right.
it was a pretty good open rate.
And so you sent it out 3 times, it sort of diminished.
Yeah, but there was still good each time.
It was a pretty good response. And I sent around to the board that Paul did the sort of report. And I think what we've concluded is we're all disappointed that we didn't reach the younger audience that we were hoping to. That most of the people who filled it out were over 60 and retired and mostly happy with their housing. So what we'd like to do, yeah, most of them lived here 15 years or more, 95% white. There were only a few responses to the rent and affordability of that. And the responses for that were what people think they could afford in rentals were very low, like 1,000 and under, which we know doesn't exist in this town. People who are looking to buy, we're looking in the $150,000 to $200,000 range, which doesn't exist much either. And most of them were, it was interesting, they were looking for 3-bedroom houses. So at any rate, I think our kind of a conclusion is that we would like to do some more outreach to a younger audience, and by that, maybe reach out to through some younger people, Tonic Hills, or find it some way to do it with social media. I don't know. That's
I think we've got a group of, I know in the fire company.
Yeah.
There's a group of some younger people who have bought houses or renting houses in that group, and I think that's the group we need to get.
Yeah.
And even the ones that bought a house in, say, the last 5 years, we need to ask them how they did it, why they did it, and what they did about it.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times our questionnaires and our focus has been on the wrong group. And
right, and that's the group. I'm trying to find out
as you
how to
said,
get to them.
we don't need to talk to people like us about our homes.
No.
We need to hit those people to find out what they're gonna do, and how they got the problems they had, and what could have been easier and better for them. Because that's what we need to promote and make happen.
Right, and I think, I don't know how many young people, sorry, Art, if they get your emails, if they open them, I don't know, that's, you know, that was a big push for this survey. But I don't know if maybe
I would bet you a lot of the younger people aren't even on the email list.
that's what I
Think
mean.
about it.
So I don't think that we've really reached them enough, so we need to find other ways to do that. And there, you know, there's suggestions that young people use social media more than anything else. I don't know if that means creating a town
Put something on
Facebook page.
Facebook. I was gonna say, put something on Facebook.
Right, I mean, the town doesn't have a Facebook page, right?
No.
Or I don't even know how you do Instagram, but I was thinking maybe I could
Yeah.
tap Alyssa, because she
Yeah.
knows all that stuff, to maybe just at least get some ideas of how we can reach out to those people. And then ultimately maybe have some kind of town forum and get them
I
to
think what
come.
we talked about was a focus group.
Focus group, yes.
Focus group
Yeah.
that would be run by, you know, who knows, someone who works at the firehouse, you know, someone, who could, instead of recirculating the survey, we could try a different way to do it. Take those questions and do it in a more intimate way, in a focus group or something like that. And using, as Bonnie said, social media to promote it, because people who are 40 and under don't use it anymore.
And the other ideas that Freddie had was to literally go to employers, go to Herondale, go to the mill, go to Brook, places where younger people might be working, and try to pull them in that way. to get, just go there and find out how many people need housing and what they're looking for, and somehow gather them together. But just do that literal, go there and kind of outreach.
Yep.
And do that.
Okay.
The other thing I have, been to 2 other meetings this month, one with the Hillsdale and Kobe people, and another webinar with the Hudson Valley Patterns of Progress, which is always, they have, a lot of information and data, and there's a lot of discussion on what to do, how to do it, what the situation is right now, what the median income is. I mean, as reflected in the survey, our median age is 57 in this county. 44% of people are over 60. And that means our young people are leaving, and they're not, there are a few young people coming in, but they're
Not really young.
not really young, and they're already people who have needs, so. But there's a lot of, really interesting information that they're putting out. And there's different groups that are involved. There's a lot of people involved, and they're working with census data and.
We talked about it in the firehouse quite a bit, and I hate to keep referencing that, but, 25, 30 years ago, there were 2 full school buses that left Ancram and went to Taconic Hills, and now there's maybe half a school bus.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Pine Plains area. There just are not young people living in this town anymore. They're not families, young families.
I think Ronald has like 60 in his class, 60 kids maybe. And when my sister graduated in 2001, I think she had like 118.
Well, and that's exactly what Marty Hitler said when he was here, the superintendent of the Pine Plains School. If you talk to the people at Taconic Hills, their classes and their school censuses are dropping dramatically.
They're buying smaller buses.
And they are, they're buying
Literally,
gas buses, they're not buying the large buses. And it is just a fact of this area, our area is not conducive to that.
Is there any news on the Habitat House? Because I'm just wondering, it's across the road from me, and we were told that somebody was going to be moving in by Christmas, and Christmas is 4 weeks.
That's what they're saying. They took the signs down, and they last, when I spoke to him, the director said, there are 2 people in the process. One family is further along than the other, and that he hoped they would be in by the end of the year.
We've seen there's been no cars, no activity, no.
No, but I think this is clearly a long, arduous mortgage process. But that's all it last time. And I did see they took the signs down, so.
But they've been down since last.
No,
For a while.
no, they were. But anyway, that's all I know about that. There's another call with the Hudson Valley thing that I won't be able to do that, but so I was telling Art just earlier, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of people are working on it, and there's lots of ideas. There's gonna be, I was talking with Dee Barrett also about it, there's money to be had. We have to figure out, we can get this money, and there's probably more in the infrastructure bill, and maybe if the better bill ever gets passed, there might be more, but we have to figure out what we can do with it. It's there, we have to have a project to put it into and figure out how we can, if we have something to build, we have to make sure it's affordable. That people can actually, it's subsidized in some way. Anyway, that's kind of where it's all going. And
It's a crisis.
I know, and survey didn't exactly reflect it, but we know it's there. Everybody knows it's there. Everybody's looking for work. And as far as the businesses where people are already working, they're not necessarily all young people, but they still need housing. And the other thing that's not being addressed is seniors. Seniors who want to move out of their houses, want to downsize. There's nothing for them either. I think one person checked who wanted a retirement. But there isn't anything. And we also have, they said, the oldest housing stock in the country, New York does. There's only new houses being built are luxury homes around here. So it's a compliment, you know, you can, I don't, the housing costs are high now, but rehabbing is really also expensive. So,
That seems to be popular. People buying old houses and.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, we have to. It's not a big deal. A lot of the houses are built in the 40s or earlier.
Mine was built in
1940s.
89.
Anyway, I will keep working on it and we're gonna work with Paul and the Economic Development Committee. Just
Paul,
see-
do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think the next step is, before we release these numbers to everyone, we would like to organize this focus group sometime as early as January, you know, just to make sure we have all people's voices heard.
Yeah.
So I'll work with Bonnie on that.
Okay, good. Any questions for Bonnie or Paul?
I have a question about the Habitat House residents, should I say, in Ancramdale. It's finished, appears to be finished, and it's empty. What's going on?
Well, I just said to Monica there, the director of Habitat told me at the last meeting, there are 2 families in process of trying to get a mortgage.
Oh, good.
And, you know, Habitat can't originate their own mortgages anymore, so they have to go through banks now, and it's much more arduous. And, you know, it's, you know, they really can't have a lot of debt, they have to come up with down payments. And in the past, the Habitat could actually help them with the down payment part, but now it's all with the banks. And I'm not sure why that changed, but it did. So, and he says there's 2 families in process, he hopes somebody would be in by the end of the year, but we'd all love to see lights on in there one day. So that would be great.
Thank you.
But that's all I know, but I don't know how, about the social media part of it, or maybe the technology committee, or I don't know. I don't really use it myself, so I don't know how we could use it, but I'll try to do some outreach on that too, with people who know about it. I think the technology committee is more about that,
Well, for now they are, but.
about wiring. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bonnie. Madeline,
I don't have anything.
the community directory, anything new?
I'm proofreading it very carefully, and I hope that when I get back, it can finally go to the printer.
Okay. Thank you very much. David,
I've been in touch with Sourcewell and they still do not have availability dates. And they were not, it's, as I said,
Say they have no date
they have no dates.
for a van
Yeah, for what we're looking for.
of any kind.
Of any kind. And they are, it's all just due to supply chain issues.
yeah,
Any alternatives? I mean,
To buy a used one, but I don't think that's the way to go.
hmm.
Wally, you're up, buddy.
say again?
In the background there.
Okay. So that's gonna be an ongoing problem, I guess.
I am on the list. They said as soon as they have the price, I will have it. But
Okay.
Maybe talk with Jack.
yes, I talked with Jack Wednesday, Thursday last week, but he's getting the same thing. You know, he's went, you know, he went into a couple of dealerships.
Doesn't matter where you go.
It doesn't matter.
They don't even have dates or ideas of when they're getting them.
No,
Well, what David, I think, is talking about is getting a price. Even once you get a price,
you're still looking like 6 to 8 months,
when are you gonna get delivery? Yeah, that's 2 different things.
which is crazy.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Clark.
Marathon time. As we discussed in the public hearing last week or last month, I introduced the resolution concerning the local type 1 list, local law number 3. And we completed, among other things, part 1 of the full environmental assessment form. That is, we discussed and reviewed the project and the setting. What is before us now is to complete the environmental assessment aspect of this and forge on from there. To that end, I sent to the town board via email a couple of days ago the electronic versions of what they now have as paper. With Nan Stolzenberg's help, you have before you part 2 of the full environmental assessment form. This is the identification of potential impacts that adopting this local law on establishing the type 1 list would do. And there are 10 pages here with Nan's help. I think it's reasonable to say that, again, we are talking about a local law, not a physical project, which alters the approach a little bit. The impact on land, negligible. The adverse, that is, the adverse impact on geological features, no. Adverse impacts on surface water, no. Adverse impacts on groundwater, no. Adverse impacts in terms of flooding, no. Adverse impacts on air, no. Adverse impacts on plants and animals, no. Adverse impacts on ag resources, no. On aesthetic resources, negative. On historic and archaeological resources, no. On open space and recreation, no. On critical environmental areas, no. Impacts adversely on transportation, no. Similarly so on energy, no. On noise, odor, and light, no. Impacts adversely on human health, no. Consistency with community plans, and you have to read this one carefully, it's kind of a double negative. It is not consistent. It is consistent, bottom line, with community plans, and it is consistent with community character. The way it's worded, you end up
It's
with
not
those
inconsistent.
It's not inconsistent. So,
Okay.
based upon that, as the identification of potential impacts, we turn to part 3, which is the evaluation of the magnitude and importance of those project impacts and whether or not they are seriously significant. And again, as you can see at the bottom of the page, this itself is a type 1 action. This is the sort of thing that we're talking about that would be gone through. We will have we've completed part 1. We just looked at part 2. We are now looking at part 3. And as has been pointed out to us on the second page, this project will result in no significant adverse impact on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. This would be signed off on by Mr. Bassett. And emanating from that, we have a resolution before the town board identifying the various reasons in terms of the whereas backgrounds and leading to the point that we have with parts 1, 2, and 3 of the fee. We have complied with secret, and we find no significant environmental impact, adversely so, and therefore we would resolve that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and sign the full environmental assessment form, that the town board declares the adoption of the proposed law number 3, establishing a local type 1 list, will not have any adverse impacts, that the town board makes a negative declaration regarding secret items and files that negative declaration, and we direct the town clerk to file a notice with the environmental notice bulletin, which is the next document in that particular sequence. Before proceeding, I would trust that we are all in agreement that these assessments are correct.
Yep. Now, should we
I would
adopt
like-
this resolution?
Let us adopt that particular resolution.
Okay, could I get a
Make a
motion?
motion.
David, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Donnie. Any further questions or comments about the negative declaration resolution? If not, could we do a roll call vote, Monica?
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Supervisor Mattson.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel.
And Adela,
Oh, she's,
She shook her head, yes.
she's muted.
She's muted.
okay,
Shoot a thumbs up.
Let me unmute. Yes.
thank you. Okay, the resolution has been adopted. Thank you very much.
And now that leads to the final action there, which is the resolution adopting actually the local law itself. And dated today, this resolution, as you can see, has various reasons behind it, including the fact that the town's ZRC thoroughly discussed all the proposed language of this law in conjunction with the TAC, the town planner, Nan, the town attorney, John Lyons, all of whom had a whack at this. You can read down for yourself. And therefore, I would make a motion that the town board hereby adopt local law number 3 of 2021. That we instruct the town clerk to file the EMV form to inform the Columbia County Planning Office as prescribed, that we file local law number 3 as adopted with the New York State Department of State, that we enter this law into the minutes of the town board, publish an abstract in the newspaper, and have this file maintained, etc. That's the motion that I make. Is there a second?
I will second that.
I'll second
it. David seconds it. Okay. Any questions or comments before we do a roll call vote? Monica, roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Supervisor Mattson.
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The resolution has been adopted.
With that, well, let's move to the second item on my agenda here. And that is a resolution adopting a policy on petitions for zoning amendments. Already in the zoning law is Article 12 amendments, which sketches a process, a procedure, a policy for adopting proposed amendments to the town zoning law. That dovetails with a need that was mentioned by John Lyons, our attorney, for a more fleshed out version. And this is a two-step process in actuality. What I would propose to you here, as sanctioned by Nan, as sanctioned by John Lyons, and which has a track record of success, is that we adopt tonight this policy that is before you, on which lays out step-by-step procedures, basically, for adopting an amendment, particularly those that come by petition from some person or some party. And later on this evening, I am going to ask that you then take the next step, and I will introduce that to you to be worked into the actual zoning law itself, so it becomes permanent. The policy, obviously, sound and can be useful and can be used immediately. Over the long haul, it's good to have it in the zoning law so it's not subject to whim from any person or party. So I have the resolution before you, introducing a policy to guide town board decision-making related to petitions for zoning amendments, and also to guide the potential petitioners as they prepare such petitions, let them know what we're looking for.
Yep.
It seeks to obviously be fair, objective, not waste time, not waste resources. Everybody knows what the scoop is. Article 12, as I mentioned, establishes general procedures, but doesn't elaborate on the specifics in a number of cases. This fills in those blanks. The key is that this will preclude spot zoning because it focuses on benefits to the town and to the community as a whole, rather than to any particular person or project. And so with all of that, It is resolved that the town board adopts this policy. The policy itself is on pages 3, 4, 5, and 6, amended to the, or appended to the resolution. Since you've had it, I don't think I need to go through that in detail. I would move that we adopt this resolution adopting this policy.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second that.
Donnie, thank you very much. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Weiss,
Yes.
Supervisor Madison.
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Israel.
Yes,
Resolution has been approved. Just an aside, I think most of you know that there is an applicant before the planning board who is interested in petitioning the town board for a zoning change. And we may get that prior to next month's meeting or January's meeting. The policy says it's got to be submitted at least 10 days before a town board meeting to get on the agenda, which is consistent with what the zoning rules.
With the planning board.
Planning board rules, yeah. So I think we will be putting this into effect relatively soon. Okay, thank you.
And now is the final act in the 3-act play here. Basically, proposed local law number 4 of 2021, dealing with zoning amendments. You have had my memorandum kind of explaining that for some time. This contains a number of edits, tweaks, changes, new pieces that have been developed literally over the past year. That have not made it into the previous law of changes that we worked for solar and so on. So it's time to work these in. This has been scrubbed, re-scrubbed, looked at by Nan, retweaked, looked at by John Lyons, tweaked again. Harold has even passed approval on it. So with all of that, I would introduce to you local law number 4. You could read for yourself the whereases introducing it. We have the authority and the power to do so here. It implements the comp plan. It's been through the ZRC, the CAC, the town planner, Nan, the town attorney, John Lyons. It is itself subject to secret, which will put it through in the coming months. And we have a EAF part 1 that goes along with what we have. You have had it electronically previously. It was in writing sitting on your table when you arrived this evening. And so I do recommend and urge that we do a number of things. First, that we declare it as the type 1 action, that we declare ourselves to be the lead agency here on the town board, that we accept the environment assessment form part 1 that we'll look at in a moment. We refer it to Columbia County Planning Board as we habitually do pursuant to section 239M for their review, that we refer this also to the town planning board for its review, and that we ask them to provide that review within 45 days. I also suggest that we schedule a public hearing. I heard earlier, 7 o'clock one, we might try this one for 6:45 on the 16th of December. And the town clerk would provide notice of all of the above. That is the motion that I would make as introducing this resolution.
Would this be local law number 5 now, because the one that we're going to meet about the salaries would be 4, the one we just passed was 3.
Well, this is 4, the salaries could be 5,
Okay,
because I didn't have a number on the salaries.
that's fine,
And since this public hearing is going to be before that one.
that works.
I will second that.
Moved and seconded, roll call vote, please.
Hold on 1 second. I got that.
Okay.
Councilman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Supervisor Madison.
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel.
yes.
Okay, the resolution has been adopted. Thank you very much.
I would ask then that we turn to do part one, the project of setting of the full environmental assessment form. This allows the town board is sponsored to identify and attach any additional information, and has done that for us in section F. But going through, much of this will not apply. What does apply is section A, which you can see we're talking about adoption of the local law amending various provisions of the zoning law. It applies to the entire town. You can understand the brief description of the proposed action there at A. And Mr. Bassett again will be the signee. Over on the second page, of the 13 pages, Dan has identified those entities that have a role, if you will, and has identified other answers for us, dealing with planning and zoning, the adopted land use plan, things of that sort. That carries over on the top of page 3. Then we have much that does not apply to us throughout the ensuing pages until we get way back over to page
Nothing.
13.
Oh, that's what we signed.
And that's where
That's the second signature. There's a signature on the first page, isn't there?
I don't think there's actually a signature on the first page. I think it's simply identifying you as such.
Right.
The last page is where the verification occurs.
Uh,
So I would, and if you're looking for even a fuller description, that's in section F.
mhm.
And then the actual local law itself, back of the package. I have provided you electronically. I will not do it in print, but voluminous. If you want to see the actual context into which all of these little words and phrases and sections fit, those are the electronic version. So with that, I would move that we accept these part one.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. There's a second. Any questions or comments? If not, a roll call vote, please, Monica.
Councilwoman Hahn,
Yes.
Councilman Fitch,
Yes.
Supervisor Basson.
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Israel.
Yes,
Okay. Resolution, or the motion has been approved.
Now, I would note again, this represents basically a year's work by the RC coupled with the CAC, coupled with our advisors. And I cannot tell you how much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into at least some of these. Right, Carol? And Jim too, for that matter. I'm looking past Jim, but Jim puts in his Monday nights on this. Bonnie does it well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all very much. So Hugh, that's all you've got for us tonight?
Yeah, I could go on, but I won't.
Okay. So Jim, Highway Department.
Well, we've been busy regrading and doing good work on our dirt roads. It seems like a gift keeps on giving with all this weather we've been having. We've had numerous heavy rain and wind events, keep us busy checking culvert pipes, picking up trees and branches. And we've been blowing the leaves, trying to keep the culvert pipes clear. We've done stockpiling sand for the winter, and replenishing our gravel pile. We did a minor paving project up on Cottontail Road one day. The spot that was real bad up there. We put some blacktop down on it. 8 loads, I think it was. 2. And we've been continuing to get our winter equipment ready for winter, getting the trucks through New York State inspection. Just going over the plows and sanders. Getting ready to go. We're ready. And on 11/1, we took the harassment training. We also went over some things that the pest inspector identified that we needed to do. Safety things, and got that taken care of, and also our electrical issues that were cited by them have been taken care of. So
Good Okay, and the staff's working out well?
Yep.
Good. Questions for Jim?
Yes, I have an issue to discuss. And that is your sexual harassment training. Got a couple of calls about that. First of all, I spoke to Jamie about it, and you guys were not all on the cameras, which is inappropriate. It doesn't seem like you took it very seriously. And it was reported to me that during the questioning, there was a gun involved.
Gone. Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
And I'm gonna just say that this needs to be taken seriously, and it doesn't appear that you guys should, everybody else has phones and laptops to do the Zoom separately.
Well, we did it the same way we did it last year. I had my iPad down there and we all logged in and we sat
Well,
around and,
So
you know, we had a social
you
distance.
didn't see everybody on, you were all in the background. That's not how it's supposed to be done. And it just feels like, from what I was told, you weren't taking it seriously, and there's a problem, and it needs to be addressed. And I don't know what the explanation for the gun was like, I don't know what that was,
Oh,
but isn't it completely inappropriate for that to happen, and that kind of behavior
what
needs to
happened?
stop?
I don't know. I'm not aware of anything that happened.
You know, there was no gun in the.
Bonnie,
Yes, there was.
Bonnie,
It
Why?
was a parade gun that the VFW stores at the garage.
Why was it in the
Well, you
picture?
just happened to, Jim MacArthur brought it in and laid it down, happened to lay it down on the table where I set up the iPad.
yeah, I sent a note.
Yeah, I know you did, but it's implausible to me that would happen at that very moment.
They have a safe there where they keep 4 of these parade rifles.
Why are they at the highway?
Because they used to be at the sheriff's office up in Hillsdale, but that was not open often enough for them to get at it when they needed it. So Jim asked Jim for permission to store it down there in a safe.
They moved the safe down in our back utility room last spring.
So
So
I didn't see a problem with it.
they're not real guns?
No,
they're parade guns for the VFW.
There's nowhere else to keep them.
I have a couple in the firehouse. No, I'm trying to be a jerk, I'm just saying,
Oh, okay,
but we have them for a color guard. I mean,
it
they're
just
not.
happened during the sexual harassment training that was laying on the table. That's what you're telling me?
yeah, they were there, you know.
Okay, well, that wasn't the perception that would.
Oh, it would
Other
be, it
people
would be
on the call.
alleviated if we could get back to in-person meetings with the trained. Too.
I agree.
Well, okay, fine. Then we should do
And
that.
there would be no question about this, you know. You know, it's the same way we did it last year, we did it this year.
Well, anyway,
There
I'm
was
just
no-
telling you that people were not happy with how it went and what they saw. And you know what I'm talking about.
Don't really.
Okay.
So who have you heard this from, Bonnie?
No,
You were not part of the meeting, right?
no, but.
So you're dealing with secondhand information? from
Yes, I
somebody?
am. But, people were upset by it and I heard about it and I needed to bring it up. So,
Okay. But the people who were concerned about it weren't concerned enough about it to bring it up to Jim.
I wanted
or
to talk to you.
One of them talked to
Jack
me.
talked to you.
I talked to Jamie Herring about it. And I explained the gun. That was what.
Well, she doesn't have a camera. She doesn't see anything and she doesn't record it. She has the PowerPoint. She doesn't see who's in the room.
Again, I don't understand.
You know, that's all we saw was a PowerPoint. We couldn't see who was
No,
participating.
but that's not how it works. But, I mean, when I was on the training, I saw everybody in a little window who was on the Zoom call. That's how it's supposed to work. And,
I don't understand why everybody's worried about what everybody else is doing.
well, they were upset by it and
Who was upset by it?
we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
At any rate, I just think it needs to be taken seriously and it doesn't feel like it is. That's my feeling.
Well, you heard from somebody who said they weren't taking this seriously? Or you're coming to that conclusion based on? this-
That was the impression of
That was the
people-
impression you
People
had.
who were on the call, but. I mean, if it is, it is, but you know, that's, I just wanted to let you know that some people were not happy.
Okay,
And some, you know, parade guns. I don't know. That's- I mean, you're telling me they're not real guns, they're just, they're innocent.
Bonnie, how many times do we have to tell you this? These are,
Excuse me?
how many times do we have to say it? These are parade rifles.
Well, I don't know what they are, so, you know, I'm only stupid, I don't know what they are, but I understand now that they're not real guns.
Right.
But, you know, people don't know what they're looking at, if it's all a gun in the thing, you're gonna. think-
Yeah, I got an email or two about that. I talked to Jim, and I circulated an answer, and I didn't hear back from anybody, except a couple of people gave me a laugh out loud kind of message. They thought it was kind of funny, but you're seeming to think that this was a major crisis or
What was
something.
the funny about it?
Well, it was funny that we got so upset about a rifle that is a parade gun for the VFW. And the implication was Jim had some weapon that was.
Right, well, that's what it looked like. It's
Well,
not funny, it's what it
I
looked like, and
don't
people were upset by it, it's not funny.
But then when we explained it,
Who did
people
you,
just ignored it, I guess, huh? I sent an email around to a bunch of people, I think you were one of them,
I saw it,
and you
and I
just
laughed at
chose.
that, I didn't know it was hilarious.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah.
I think
Whatever.
it was-
all right. Message received.
Did everybody, finish the training?
Say again,
Did everybody complete the training?
50 people completed the training.
Is that everybody?
Well, it's close to everybody, but probably not everybody.
I have to get to the ones from the fire company who got ours.
Yeah, you got your own, and a lot of people did it outside.
I would say we did ours, we just haven't gotten the documentation.
So we're pretty close to that. It's really hard to get everybody.
I know.
as you know,
I know.
so, okay, moving right along. Monica,
I just have two small things that came in the last mail of the day. We got our certification from the state of New York saying that they received our local law number 2, which I believe is.
oh, good. So now we can
lounge
file
law.
it with the cannabis committee.
Correct. And I got a letter from Department of
You're not
Trans.
taking it seriously.
Department of Transportation stating that the speed limit on Simons Road, it has now been deemed allowable to be 40 miles per hour.
Oh,
And that town-owned roads, the town is responsible to install and maintain the proper speed limit signage.
good.
So Simons.
Great.
Simon's is 40. Okay,
That was it.
that's it? Okay. Budget adjustments, I have a handful of them here totaling $27,000. Most of them relate to workload in the zoning and planning area. $11,000 for our last quarter worth of police. And the HVAC RFPs in the building department have finally hit the books and we're funding those. So if you would sign those and circulate them, I'd appreciate it. So I would appreciate a motion to approve the budget adjustments and the warrants and pay the bills.
Motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. So the next town board meeting will start at 6:45 with a public hearing on local law number 4. And I think we've done all of the resolutions. Let me just double check. So I think we are pretty much done. Anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
But even, anything about the EEP program, that's gonna continue or how things are gonna work?
The which program?
The EEP,
Oh, we approved that for year end.
I know that, but it is the program With the new administration.
I don't know.
Okay, that's what I
I
heard.
think we'll find out in January.
Yeah, I would just say, okay.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
Everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, thank you very much.
Must be thankful for.
Yep, I do, sir. We certainly do. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
I make a motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Madeline, have a safe trip back.
We just went to Manhattan yesterday.
Thanks for joining us, Madeline.
Yep. Have a very nice Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bunch of PET scans and a bunch of doctor visits here for the last 5 or 6 days. And Jennifer actually had the best PET scan in the last 3 years.
Oh, my God.
Yesterday, so
Fantastic.
we've got a good Thanksgiving coming up.
Absolutely.
As I had one person that emailed me and said, how did the PET scans go? I said, they didn't find any pets.